Hello, my sunshines. Welcome back to another episode of the Creating Sunshine podcast. I am bringing you another amazing guest today, as always. My girl Kaitlin is going to be on the show. Kaitlin and I have met indirectly when I saw her speak a few years ago, but officially met last year at the She Is Made for More event. And she actually just interviewed me last week in her studio in person for her podcast. So it's kind of perfect because she got to know about me. Now I get to know more about her and just, bring her magic to you guys. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. I just feel like it's so fun having like this. We don't get to spend this much time together and we live down the street. So this is a treat for me too.
Yes. And living down the street in LA though is
I
like
was just going to say, let's clarify.
it takes you like an hour and a half to get to each other. So that's probably why also. But one thing
Yes.
that I wanted to start doing with my guests, I was just telling you before we hit record, is we're going to start at the beginning. And I'm going to ask something that you're excited about this week because we're all about creating sunshine and celebrating over here.
Yes. Oh my gosh. There's actually a lot of sunshine that's happening in my world this week and next. But mostly what I'm sort of preparing for is my week is going to end really soon because we leave for Texas for the holidays. And so I say my year, like December is going to be wrapping up. And so I'm going to be meeting with my VA and sort of like planning what the beginning of the next quarter is really going to flow and be like. And I just love being in that dreaming state. So I'm
Love
really looking forward to our planning session that's coming up. And then the other thing is, I'm enjoying Elf on the Shelf. I know that's like really silly.
Love it that you say that because I do too. All these people are complaining, and I'm like, if I could just bring my kids a little bit of magic, like it just makes me so happy.
Yes. And it just sort of is like this thing that like makes me giggle. And I love when she wakes up every day. Our elf's name is Charlie Elfie. And so I love when she wakes up every day. She's like, what is Charlie Elfie doing today?
Mhm.
And we get to start off our day with like looking for joy. And it's just a reminder that, like, okay, yeah, we might only have Charlie Elfie for 1 month of the year, but how else can we translate that into starting our day to like look forward to something?
That I love that. Okay, good. We can swap ideas then because I feel like my elf
Yes.
is really boring. Like I literally just move her around the house. Her name is Smiley. And I'll make her do like a couple things, but also I have to
Yeah.
keep her like out of reach of the dog. So it's like there's not a lot I can do. But I love it too. And the girls wake
Have you
up
done
and they're like,
anything
"You're
with 6, 7
Smiley."
yet?
No, but we probably should. My oldest is obsessed. My youngest hates it.
My daughter's like, "Mom, the boys do it. It's so annoying." But I did like Uno cards with 6, 7. It was
I saw that.
so funny. So
That's cute.
funny.
That's cute. That's a good one. That's a good one. See, okay, good. Elf on the Shelf. See, there's another
Yes.
fan. I love it. I think it's fun. We've been doing it oh my God. My oldest was like 2. I think I've been doing it for like 8 years already.
Oh,
But
so fun.
yeah, it's cute. So I do want to start by asking you is with your business, like, let's go back to the beginning. Like, how did it start? Like, is there like a story that you love to tell and how you went from like probably doing it yourself to realizing like, oh, there's a need. Like, I could really teach this to people because like I have some magic here.
Yeah. It always like when people ask me, where do I start? I'm like, okay, which start? Because I have
Right.
started multiple things. I've actually been an entrepreneur, if you will, or someone on like contract type work since the age of 18. So I've never had a traditional 9 to 5. Even when I was a celebrity stylist, everything I did was hustling for my own clients and working for commission. So if my clients didn't buy, I didn't make money, very much like an entrepreneur, right? And then I went into the fitness industry where I owned a brick and mortar gym, and that was its own style of entrepreneurship. And it's interesting going from brick and mortar where you're marketing to the people in your town, right? It wouldn't matter if I was marketing to people in Texas if our gym was in California. So that was a different way of looking at things. And then I owned that with my ex husband, well, now ex husband, and we got a divorce. And it was through that my current business, the Beam Life, was born. So really, that sort of through line is what kind of catapulted me into the Beam Life. I would say that the Beam Life was kind of the most beautiful accident, if you will. And similar to sort of the way you started, it's just I loved podcasts. I was sort of an early adapter. I was someone who really enjoyed hearing other people's stories, and I'm a big verbal processor. So when people are like, journal, meditate, I'm like, girl, I need to talk it out.
Yeah.
Give me a voice note. I want a voice note. I want to be able to like sit down and have coffee. I need to process this. So it was through my divorce that I was like, I need an outlet for this. I knew I had something to say, but I was really trying to say it for myself. And so I started the podcast, originally called it Be Everything and More. And then a friend of mine was like, You realize the acronym for that is BEAM, right? I was like, Shut the front door. How did I not catch that? Like, what? And it was so that was really what I was trying to do was create like a beam of light, like you creating
Mhm.
sunshine for women to see like, hey, you're not alone in this. And I was really at that point going through my divorce. It was one of those things on paper, it looked really good. And we owned the business together and had a big community and everyone thought we were just this like perfect couple. And now that I'm 6 years down the road of being divorced, I have a lot of different perspectives than maybe I did at the very beginning, and I take a lot of ownership in the brokenness of the marriage. I definitely was not secure in who I was. I sort of got sidetracked and I went down this path that I really honestly can't even figure out how I got there because I was always really independent and then I had this like little blip of time where it was like I was like I need to settle down. I need to have a baby. I need to get serious. And when I started having marriage issues and we started going to therapy and we were fighting all the time, everyone around me was having the same experience.
Mhm.
So I thought that's normal.
Right?
That's how I guess that's because people are like, well, this is just what happens
Yeah.
after the first little bit. Now I know being in a really fruitful, very like two-way street marriage, of course we have disagreements, but it's not consistent and it's not about the same things, right?
Yeah.
Very different dynamic. And so I realized that's actually not normal. And so I say all that because that's really what started my podcast was talking about things that we have normalized
Mhm.
for women that actually aren't normal. And it's okay that inside something's telling you, hey, sis, like you're feeling uneasy for good reason.
Mhm.
And there's actually some ways that you can help yourself and rediscover who you are. And just because you've become a mom or a wife or a business owner doesn't mean that you have to completely lose who you are as well. Those are just hats you wear. It's not who you are. And so, yeah, to answer your question, that sort of started as an outlet for me. And people were like, hey, do you coach?
Mhm.
And I didn't know what they meant by that because I think even now, I guess life coaching has a better reputation. But
Yeah.
back then, I just felt like if you said life coach, people would laugh at you. Like the only person who was somewhat being taken seriously was Tony Robbins, right? Like
Right.
that's who
Yeah.
everyone thinks a life coach is. And I was like, well, I need to look into this because I've been asked now at least 10 times if I could coach these people. And I was obviously going through the divorce, a career transition. I knew it was the start of COVID. So I was like, I don't want to be in the gym industry anymore, but I was still trying to do other odds and ends kind of jobs to make income but not spend all my like brain calories doing it. I wanted to conserve my energy for my business and my podcast and yeah, and then I was like I'm going to go find a life coaching school. Not by accident, a client in the book publishing company I was working for owned a life coaching school. So random. We
Mhm.
connected. The rest is history. I became a certified life coach, but then I realized the women I'm attracted to working with, and because I've done it for so long, are women who want to have a side hustle, create a business, develop a business, not just necessarily to make money, although that's a huge reason they're wanting to get into it, but to have something that belongs to them.
Yeah.
And that could be a business. Again, that could be a side hustle. It could be a hobby. But like having something that belongs to you when you're a grown woman with so much responsibility is one of the most liberating things you can do for yourself. And yeah, and then I transitioned to business coaching. So that was long story long.
No, that's okay. I love it. And I mean, and you already know, like, I resonate with so much of your story and we have a lot of similarities, down the road. And the more that I hear you talk, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, we have that in common too. We have that in common too.
Yes.
And I think that it is so important because the type of work that you do, because how many women and mothers, and wives and whatever partners are like, you do kind of lose yourself, in especially I think when your kids are little, right? Because they rely on you
Yes.
so much. Like literally they cannot live without you.
Yeah.
And so it's normal, right? And you put yourself aside, but then I think there becomes that transition of, okay, at what point can I kind of reclaim myself, right? At one point can I kind of start stepping back into myself and what I enjoy? And I think I realized, when I started doing all this is like I didn't even really know what I like to do anymore, even like outside of being a mom, I was like, I was a mom and I was a wife, and people would be like, "Oh, tell me about yourself." And like literally that's how I would describe myself. Like I would talk about being a mom, being a wife, and what my job was, but it's like I didn't have hobbies. I didn't have a lot of
Yeah.
friends at that point. It was just like, "Oh my god, I need something for myself," And I
Yes.
feel like
Yes.
I mean, COVID was a turning point for a lot of us, you know what I mean? Because I feel like it kind of forced us to slow down, right? And go internal and be like,
We'll see what was important.
right, like, what do
Yeah,
we really wanna do? But
totally.
I love that. And I know that through the years, like you said, you've done different businesses and you've done different things. So for you, like you talk a lot about evolving, you talk a lot about changing, right? So how do you know, like, okay, I think it's time to pivot. I think it's time to start doing something else, because I also think that once people start doing something, maybe they hold on to it for longer than they should, because maybe they feel guilty. They feel like, well, if I walk away from this, then I'm saying that I failed. So
Yes.
you say like, "No, this pivot is necessary for my growth, for my expansion." So and is there like a sign that you're like, "Okay, I just got hit with like a bolt of lightning that like I need to do something different?"
Yeah, and I could answer that question in so many different ways, and I always am like, to some degree, I've always had this inner knowing, and except for those couple of years where I was married and sort of like floating into some other outer space where I realized I was so out of tune with myself, really besides that chunk of time, I've always had this just like deep intuition. And when I was younger, I would even like think I was psychic. I know that sounds weird, but I'd be like looking at a car and I'd be like, I bet this is going to happen. And like this thing would happen. And then I would freak myself out. And so I just have this really internal like connection with myself. And I believe that if I'm excited about it, there's no other choice but that it's going to work out. So I kind of
Mhm.
always go into it with that attitude. But I understand that that's not applicable to everyone. And everyone's like, well, that's good for you, Caitlin. How does this help me? And how would you help me like as a coach? Right. And so I think the biggest thing you have to first of all think about is this something you can, because especially if you're someone who just easily gets excited and finds opportunity in a lot of things, there's a lot of things you could do. 5 days, you're going to get approached with something exciting that's potentially for you. So I think before I always say, like, if you're thinking it's time for a pivot, I always am like, don't be impulsive if possible and just take a second because any decision worth making is going to be there for you in a couple days.
Yeah,
And
I
if
had to
anyone's
start I had
telling
to
you,
start doing that. I had to start like,
yeah,
"Okay, slow down," because I get so excited and I'm like, "I could do this and I could do that," and then it's like,
yeah.
but I'm all over the place, and it's like, let's just focus on one thing.
Well, if it's meant for you, it'll be there for you. It's not
Right,
going to go away. I'm not saying wait years for it, but
right.
just take a couple days, sit with it, and really think about like, because in order to make something grow, you have to give it attention, right? Like just like a plant,
Mhm.
we have to give it water, we have to give it sunshine, you have to give it air and love and nurture, and you have to be able to put your energy into it. So, just taking some time and thinking, could I really do this? Do I have the bandwidth for this? Is this something I could be obsessed with for enough time to get it to grow? Or is this just a hobby? Is
Mm,
this just something that I want to dabble in every once in a while? And I think that's a big thing that people need to make as a distinction is, and I tell people that as they would get into coaching, I'm like, are you wanting to make a living from coaching, or are you wanting to just do this because you're passionate about it and making money on the side feels really good? Like basically,
yeah,
empire, side hustle, somewhere in between. Because a lot of people will tell you you're not worthy if you don't have the empire. And that's simply someone else's dream. Maybe
mhm,
it's not yours. So I think you have to know who you are, what you want. Is this something you can continually build momentum towards and not get burned out by? Or, yeah, I mean, just it takes a lot
yeah,
to get it to wherever you want it to go, even if it's a side hustle. It takes educating people that you're doing something new and teaching yourself new skills. It's a learning curve, right? So all of those things. So I would say trusting yourself that if all of those boxes get checked, just make it's inevitable that it'll work out if
Right,
you continue down the path. And
right.
I always laugh because I went to school for fashion, and in my mind I wanted to be a name in the fashion industry. I was doing really well. I had incredible opportunities that opened up. So when I left fashion to be in the gym business, my mom, my own flesh and blood, gave me the hardest time. And still to this day, she's like, I just always thought you would be someone in fashion. And I'm like, God, that's such an asshole thing to say sometimes. And I know what she means, but I'm like, I still fashion is something that I enjoy as like a hobby. It's a form of self-expression. It
Yeah,
wasn't something I wanted to continue doing day to day. And I can't imagine if I was in the industry, and I guess I don't know, but that's a perfect example of just because you went to school for it, just because you've done it in a career for X amount of years, doesn't mean that you owe it anything,
my gosh, girl.
you know?
You're still speaking to me right now.
Yeah, it's hard because you think, "Gosh, I wasted so much time." It's like, you didn't waste anything. You gained everything you needed for the next chapter.
Exactly. So on that note though, because we talked about this before we hit record too, and I said
Yeah.
I'm guilty of this, is like people don't give themselves enough credit for the skills that they have already developed in their life, right? Because I'm sure like say you probably work with women in their 30s and their 40s, right? And they're like, "Oh my god, I'm starting from scratch." But like no you're not.
No.
Because how do you like really remind them of the skills that they have and pull out maybe what's transferable to what they want to do right now, because I'm sure that you had that skills that you had developed in the gym business in the fashion industry that transferred over to your business now. So how do you start to get them to flip that mindset that like you're not a beginner.
No. I even think this is such a fascinating topic. For example, this happened to me yesterday, so it's really timely that you're asking this question. I coach a single mom, okay? And we're going through this 10-day She's the Strategy where every day it's something different. And one of the days was about creativity and joy. And she said, I really struggle with creativity. It's never been a strong suit of mine. And I was like, hold the phone here. Maybe you're not Picasso, okay? Like if that's what you think creativity is. But I'm pretty sure it takes a shitload of creativity to be a single mom in 2025.
That's facts.
Like, I'm sorry. What? So you say like not giving yourself, and she's like, "Oh, I guess you're right." I'm like, "Yeah, because you've got one kid that says they don't like this lunch and this kid that says they don't want to do this activity, and you've got to figure out how to do all these like creativity is simply thinking outside of the box. It doesn't
Yep.
mean you know how to paint well. So it's really like, how can you look back and think, man, in my last position, I was an excellent problem solver.
Hmm.
In my last position, I was so good at repairing relationships because maybe you're in customer service, right? In my last position, potentially I was the one that everyone went to when they had to think of a way to display something because they couldn't figure out a way to make it beautiful. That's creating content, that's making things pretty,
I love it.
right? It all translates.
Yeah.
It all translates. And I believe that that's actually where really fruitful businesses thrive the most is when you integrate the things that you're inherently good at and that you like. Like that's a really good place to start is think about in your current position and in your life because I guarantee you have friends that also are like, "Hey, Sarah, like, what do you think about this?" It's always probably about the same topic. And there's a reason people see you as that person to go to about that thing. And it's like, I'm sure if you were to think about all the work conversations you have, it'd be about the same thing. It goes for all of us.
Hmm.
So that's a really good place to start is thinking about you take it for granted, right? Because you do it so naturally, so well. It's who you are. Usually we need other people to tell us like, oh, wait a second, I am good at that. Or wait, that
Right.
that is something I can do with my eyes closed. And if you want to, there's a lot of opportunity that you can either monetize or find more joy doing
Right.
it.
And I think we talked about that a little bit the other day too, is because, like you said, I can do it with my eyes closed. It comes naturally to me. So you just assume that it comes naturally to everyone else. And then when you kind
Correct.
of zoom out and start looking, you're like, this isn't as easy to everyone else as it is to me. So maybe that is my magic? And we don't,
Yes.
I mean, we don't give ourselves enough credit for all the things we do, for all the things that we know. It's like I've lived on this earth for 45 years already. Like I have learned a lot of shit.
Yes. wisdom. It's wisdom. And there's only so many, like, there's only so much you can know. And I know this because at one time I was 20. There's only so much you can actually know about life at 20 years old, even if
Right.
you've gone through a lot of life. I went through a lot of life by the time I was 20.
Same.
I still don't know shit. I still don't know shit compared to what I know almost at 40. And I can't even imagine when you're at the next 20 years from now, right? At
Right.
what you'll know.
How wise I'm gonna be when I'm 60.
Yes, it's like there's it just takes time sometimes, and also understanding that, you weren't supposed to know the other things that you know now because otherwise you would have.
Yeah.
So
Well,
allow it to be.
I love that. I so agree with you. And I think that, on that note, like your brand, the Beam Life, like you said, it's such a vibe. I'm so drawn to it, because I love the
All
brightness, I
pink
love the
everything.
colors, and you have pink everything. And I feel like maybe there's a lot of people that are starting this, or a lot of people that are in this space that feel like they should like look a certain way, or use the neutrals, because we're supposed to be adults or whatever it is.
Yes,
I feel like
yes,
you have really just like you just own your shit, like I like to be bright, I like to be colorful, I like to have fun. Like this is
yes.
and was when you started the Beam Life, like was it this way or has it evolved over time to where you're like, you know what? I feel like I just need to be my most truest authentic self and like I don't care if
Yes.
anybody doesn't like it.
This question is so interesting, Sarah, because two things were actually happening simultaneously. And this is why don't believe everything you see on the internet. Okay, folks? So, aesthetically, I have always been me in the Beam Life, right? I've always been bold. I've always been colorful. And again, when you look back at my college pictures, when you look back, I mean, I won every year we had like superlatives. I always got most spontaneous, most original. Like this girl ain't never met a box that I fit in. Okay. I just never, ever. I was always different. And a lot of that had to do with the way I dressed. I mean, being in fashion, I use this as a form of self expression, who I am, how I feel that day. And I would go all over from punk to preppy to super high fashion, girly to more tomboy. Like I was all over the map, but I was like, I get to be multiple things. I don't need to be just one look. So, where I really kind of lost that was again moving to LA. I kind of shrunk myself. I don't know what happened when I came here. New York, I would wear like ripped stockings and tutus and high heels and just be so wild. And then I came here and I felt like I really stuck out. And it
Mhm.
was almost like uncomfortable, like sticking out. Like you almost felt like people were making fun of you.
Yeah.
And I've never really necessarily cared what people say, but I do care what people say. And I do care what people think about me. And I was sort of I moved out here in my young 20s. And I was sort of at that age where what people thought of me made an impression on me. And I also wanted to grow in my career. So I started to dress a little more conservative. I still would say I'm not conservative and not in fashion at all, but more conservative than where I was. I was around a lot of affluent people. So I wanted to, I started spending more money than I had to buy the designer bags,
Mhm.
to present a certain way. So I started really changing based on the environment around me and what I thought would get as I was in high volume sales. So, like the suits I used to sell, for example, I sold to NBA and NFL players. They were 10,000 to 20,000 a suit. Okay. A suit.
That's crazy.
So I was like, if they're gonna buy from me, I have to be this certain way.
Mm.
These people don't care. Like they want you to be yourself, right? And so anyway, it was an internal thing. That did translate to my coaching business and got me in a lot of trouble. I actually just recorded a podcast episode about this because I was looking at other coaches on where I thought I needed to be for people to hire me. And it was like, you need to be making 100,000. You need to be flying private planes. You need to be living this big bougie luxury life, coming in with the big designer bags and just looking this certain very well, like wearing those girl boss blazers and like looking perfectly chic. And I spent all the money, did all the things. I took out loans to like do stuff with my business and make it look like it was bigger than it really was. And that to this day is one of the biggest things I feel like I've held shame around because it's so embarrassing to think, why would I do that? Like, that's so against my own personal compass. Like, it goes against my moral compass. But I also really wanted to be successful. And I felt like I've kind of been the black sheep of my family. I'm the oldest. So I have 2 siblings who have gone through med school. They're so intelligent and so amazing and everything they do, they just thrive and they have the traditional, my brother owns a vet practice. My sister's a nurse practitioner, like following a beautiful career path. And I'm sort of out here switching careers all the time. And, you know, I've been the one that's like, hey, can I borrow some money? Like that's just
Mhm.
been me. And I just feel like a hot mess all the time. So, yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where right at in like end of 2022, I was right about to get married and I realized how much debt I had and how I had been hiding all of this. And I had to come clean to my then fiance because I was like, I know how much finances really played a part in my last marriage. And it wouldn't be fair for me to bring this secret and start our marriage in this way. And I had to come clean. Terrified of losing everything because I was like, Dee's like, I would almost would have rather you told me you were cheating on me than then, like, because this makes me feel like I can't trust you. And obviously,
Yeah.
like, I get that, right? I get that. Because as soon as you feel like your partner's been hiding something for you, your mind automatically goes to what else have
What
they
else?
been hiding from
Yeah.
me? What else are they possible of? Do I even know this person? Right. However, now I can speak because it's been time and I've done a lot of work around that. I went specifically to therapy. I went to Debtors Anonymous, which is like AA for people who spend money. And I know people think, oh, shopping addict, that's like a funny term we throw around. I found out it's actually a very serious thing.
Mm.
And it's something that I'm really proud of myself for like confronting. It's been really scary and unearthing. And there's so many things that working with professionals have helped me to pin back to some really early childhood stuff that it's not like I want to point the finger and say, well, that's why,
Yeah.
but it helps to understand how you get there and then also how much the internet plays a role in what you need to look like and be like and how you need to talk and the things you need to have. And let me just tell you guys, that is all fucking bullshit. Sorry, I didn't even ask you if I can cuss, but
Oh,
you asked me to be
you
on.
can.
You know who I am.
I wouldn't have asked you on the show
Yeah.
otherwise.
Otherwise, it's like we're going to have to go beep, 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 beep,
No,
beep.
no, no, no.
But yes, again, long story long, but I think it's important that we talk about this so much because I feel like that's a huge blocker for women too. Is like, I need to have all of this stuff to do the things I want. And I'm like, no, you don't.
100%. And I love that you share that, and it can be really hard and really vulnerable to share those stories. But obviously, like by you sharing it, like you know that you're not the only one that this has happened to,
Oh
when
my gosh, no.
you're saying this like twice in the last 2 years, I have racked up an insane amount of debt and finally like figured out, maybe also like what I was portraying was better than what was really happening. And I had to get real with myself this year, like, especially with the cancer diagnosis and the medical bills rolling in. I was like,
Yes.
I had this cabin in Big Bear that I was like, yeah, and I have this cabin, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And at the end of the day, I had to get real with myself. Like, this thing is burying me. I am not making it.
Yes.
I need to walk
Yes.
away and get my money back, pay my debt off. And like now I'm literally walking into 2026 debt free. And it feels so freaking
Hallelujah.
it feels so good,
Yes.
but it is a lot
Yes.
about like portraying an image almost that I think like, because now I'm single and I'm independent and I'm a boss bitch and I
Yes.
can do this, and it's like at the end of the day, I'm fucking drowning, and
Yes.
taking out
Yes.
loans to pay for a cabin that I can't afford. And it's like, when is enough enough? Like walk away.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I resonate with your story completely, even
Every single person I had told this to before I had like the internal like push to share it publicly was like,
me
"Oh my
too,
god,
right?
I did this. I did this. I did this." Whether it was like I bought this thing and I told my partner it cost 500 when it really cost 1500
Right.
or I did this thing and I'm like, "Why are we doing this? Why are we
Right.
holding so much shame around money and numbers?" And it's like at what point when a business is making 3 to $5,000 did that not become a real business?
Right. Right.
At what point are we making that a small thing? It's it's really sad. It's honestly really sad, and I'm sorry because it's happened to me, and it made me feel really small and really bad, and, like, I just needed to get to this next level, and I'm someone who loves to get to the next level. I'm energized by reaching goals and
Mhm.
stretching past my possibility and capability, but when you do it in a way that's out of integrity, like I did, and when you do it in a way that feels, and I say I came by it innocently, I never did it to, like, "Well, let me get out to hurt people and, like, do this thing and be this sneaky person." It came from a good intention, like, at some point, I'm gonna pay this back, and at some point, my business is gonna make this money where I can do it came from that place. And, like you said, coming from a divorce, I'm like, "I gotta show
Mhm.
something. I left that business, now I gotta prove who I am," and the only person it really fucking hurt was me and my relationship for a moment in time. Thank God I have an amazing partner that's like, "I love you, and I love you for all the things that you are," and I now, like, the fact that we started our marriage with that honesty,
Yeah.
it's changed everything.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, at least for me, I think in the beginning of knowing that I wanted to do something differently and not necessarily knowing what that was, and just getting into this space and starting to meet people and starting to meet coaches. And there's a lot of people out there that put this idea in your head like, yes, in a sense, you have to spend money to make money. But I mean, coaches that are literally burying people in debt and
Yes.
convincing them that like, well, you're going to make it back in 6 months and you're going to make it back in 6 months, and so you're trusting them and you're saying like, okay. And part of it is like, and that's what happened to me is like I spent an insane amount of money on a mentorship program that I couldn't afford,
Yeah.
and that's what started to bury me. And so I just kept charging, and I need to do this and I need to do that because then that's the only way that it's going to happen. And, for some people, like that might be okay, but that doesn't feel good to me. Being a single mom,
Yes.
having two daughters, and having this debt looming over my head, that was so stressful to me that it didn't allow me
Yes.
to be creative and to do the things that I'm doing now because every single day I'm thinking, how the fuck am I going to pay off this debt? Like every month is
Yep.
just getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm living above my means,
Yep.
and I'm over
For
here
what? For who?
for who? For nobody. Like you said, at
Yeah.
the end, the only person that it was hurting was me. I felt like it was hurting me and it was hurting my daughters. And that's why I
Yeah.
just got to get real. Like, no, 2025, this shit is going to change. Like, I'm only investing in the things that are aligned with me. I'm not.
Yes.
And now it's like people will reach out and I swear, like you can ask anybody I sign on with, I take forever to make a decision. But I'm
Yeah.
learning that that's my human design. Like I'm not meant to make a
Yes.
decision like that. And
Yes.
I take a long time. I'm not one of
What
those
are
people.
you?
I'm a 6-2 generator.
6-2 generator. Okay. Makes sense.
Yep. So I'm
Makes
not one of
sense.
those
Yeah.
people that's like it's an instant like hell yes. Like I'm like
Yes.
I ask a gazillion questions.
Yep.
I need 2
As
weeks
you
to make a
should.
decision, because it's a big deal to me to invest my money now. And I that part of your story
Anybody
resonated with it so much.
any mentor that makes you feel bad for asking questions, run away.
Mhm.
Run away. Whether you're looking at a business coach, a therapist, a doctor, I don't care. Like, it is your birthright. You have to advocate for yourself and you need to have the questions answered so you can have clarity. And that is such an important thing. Like, ask all the questions.
Yep. And I learned that this year too with going to the doctor and everything. Like
Yes.
I've gotten a second opinion for every single thing that has happened this year. And it's like,
Good.
why not? It's free. That one
Yep.
doctor is not a know all end all be all. And I mean, like I told you the other day, that's how I found my amazing surgeon because I was like, no, I know this isn't right. And
Hmm.
I'm not settling anymore and just taking what people say because I
Yes.
be like the nice person, right? Or I'm like, well, I don't want to cause any problems, so I'm just gonna say yes. No, fuck that.
Hmm.
It's not happening anymore.
No, 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 as it shouldn't.
So then for the woman or for, the people that you work with, maybe they're like us, they're the breadwinner moms, right?
Yep.
They're already leaders. Now they're kind of like, damn, I don't even feel like I could trust myself. Maybe
Mm.
they want to burn that shit all down. How do you start to work with them and really convince them? I mean, and maybe they do need to burn it down. Maybe they do need to
Yeah,
start something
maybe.
new. But is there like a practice that you do, a ritual, a boundary, like maybe a modality that you love to use with your clients so that they can start to like rebuild that trust and like have faith.
Yeah. Yes, and also this is one of the number one things I actually do with my clients because oftentimes the issues we're having in our business are the same issues we're having outside of our business.
Mhm.
How we do anything is how we do everything. Hands down, that's just how it is. So there's a lot of times where someone will be telling me about their business. I'm like, okay, this morning, or I say, when you went to bed last night, what did you say today you were going to do when you got up? They're like, well, I said I was going to get up to go to the gym, but like I actually didn't. And they'll just start telling me about their morning. And I'm like, that right there, you're already starting your day by breaking your word. The most important thing we have is our word, what we say we're going to do, because our brain is very literal. It's black and white, it's yes or no. So if you said, I'm going to get up at 6 tomorrow to do this thing, and you don't do it, it's like you're building a bank account of reasons not to trust yourself. So the reason you can't trust yourself in your business is because you're not keeping your word to yourself in other places of your life. If you're someone who's always late, again, that's translating to your business because you are not leaving yourself the runway to get somewhere on time. And then that becomes an identity. I'm just always late. Right. And so we have to start working on like, who are you as this woman who wants this either next business or this next chapter? Because that identity is what is going to unlock the next thing. We all know the basic strategies,
Yeah.
just like we all know how to quote unquote lose weight. We know how to do that, but there's reasons why it doesn't happen. And that is
Mhm.
because we have to actually take, aligned, talk about this a lot. We have to take aligned action, but also be really honest with ourselves. For those of you listening that have a goal, maybe it's not to start a business. It could be anything, but you're like, I'm always stop starting. I feel like I get this far and then I take a million steps back. Stop making the goal so big and so far away. Just keep a goal and a promise to yourself today.
Mhm.
Don't worry about the next big thing. Think about, okay, if my goal is to make $5,000 in my business, but you keep have a great month and a terrible month, a great month and a terrible month. What is the thing that makes a great month? Just keep repeating that. Keep showing up for that one thing that day and keep stacking the results. The rest, it becomes inevitable. It happens. But we have to keep our word and do all the things that we say we're going to do. Otherwise, again, it's just going to translate and leak everywhere else.
Yep, absolutely. And
And I know
on
people
that,
hate that answer, but it's true.
no, it is true. And I think we talked about this too is like, everybody I don't even know if this is going to come across right, but I think you're going to understand what I'm trying to say is like everybody got a little soft, right? Everybody got a little like I'm
Yes.
going to give myself some grace. And we're just
Yes.
yeah, that's great guys, but there also comes a time like we said you can affirm and manifest all you want, but you're going to have to
Yes.
start taking some aligned action and everybody is so afraid of that hustle culture, right? But there
Yes.
is at some point, like there's a difference when we talked about this, like aligned hustle versus survival hustle. So
Yes.
how can someone tell maybe if they're actually in aligned hustle? Like, yes, you might be able to slow down like once your business starts to make it, but in the beginning, this shit is hard work. It's every single day,
Yes. Yes, absolutely. There is a difference, and I am so happy you asked this because I am so anti soft girl. But then I'm like, people are then like, do you not believe in meditation and like taking days off and resting? I'm like, of course I believe in that. I would be a psychopath if I didn't believe in that.
right? But I
And I
also
also
believe in moving,
Yes, I also believe in moving and taking action. And I'm also not someone that's like, you have to do something in order to earn rest. Again, rest is a birthright. We have all the ability to do that. And it's something we need to do. Our body and mind requires it. However, so much emphasis has been put on that. And it's like what I say about anything, and everyone can understand this. It's like even too much water is bad for you. So it's just the culture we're in general is so polarized. I mean, the political climate has set the tone for all of us. Either you're way over here or you're way over here. And somehow we've lost that there's an entire middle that exists. And the same goes either you're a soft girl that's just gonna like rot all day in bed, peace out, or you're this like girl boss hustle babe that stops at nothing. You're constantly burned out. I'm like, y'all, there's the whole thing in here, a whole
right?
thing
Right.
that we can attach to. And the thing is, in order to get like in order to go from Los Angeles to New York, you got to get in the car and drive. You can think about New York all you want. You can oh my gosh, I feel like I'm in the Empire State Building. Until you actually get in the car or the plane or the whatever, you're not going to be in New York City. Sorry. You got to get moving. You got to go. You got to take action. You have to move. And it's in a way that feels sustainable, right? I think, again, we set these, talking about polarizing, people are setting their goals in the same way. They'll go from never posting on the internet to I'm going to post 2 times a day for the next 30 days.
Right, right.
That
Let's
would
be
be an
realistic
example.
here.
Yes, that would be an example of survival hustle. You're doing that because you're like, I gotta go viral. I
Yeah.
have to have this result. If I go viral, that will mean I'm successful. My business is gonna finally make it. Clients are gonna come flooding in. It's like we're like, please, for dear life, just happen.
Right.
That's survival hustle when we're moving from a place of fear. It's
Mhm.
like, I have to sign this client because I have to pay this bill. Oh my God, this thing has to happen. That is like white knuckling survival. I need to do that versus not posting it all on the internet to I'm going to post 3 times a week. And those 3 times a week, I'm going to be so intentional when I show up. I'm not just going to slap something up on the thing just for the sake of posting.
Right.
I'm really going to think about who are the people I want to serve? What is my product? What is my service? Who do I help? How can I speak and help change someone today? How can I be of service? That, my friends, is aligned hustle, right? It's when we move from a place of an excitement, of intentionality, of I have the motivation to leave someone better than I found them today, even if you never meet the person. That comes from a place of alignment, joy, and that is something we can sustain. Like we can sustain posting 3 times a week from intention versus twice a day for the next 30 days. What are you going to repeat that again? That's
Right.
exhausting and not necessary.
Yeah, I just had a conversation
So,
with a friend the other day, and she was talking about starting a podcast, and I said, "My advice to you would be to start with a minimum amount. Don't be like, I'm
yes.
gonna release 3 episodes a week." Like, start with 1. You can always
Yes.
increase it if that feels good to you, but I'm like, "But if you go here, you're gonna burn out, you're gonna wanna quit everything." I was like,
Yes.
so I started with 1 a week. I've been 1 a week for 2 years because that's just what feels good to me.
Yes. And people get so obsessed with things that they don't need to get obsessed with that it blocks them from actually doing the thing. Or
Yeah,
people get so obsessed with like, how do I find like this perfect intro song and this whole thing? And I'm like, just get your podcast up. Like worry about the intro song later.
right.
It's really not something that's going to make or break your podcast right now.
Yeah, she said, "I think I'm gonna have, like, a whole bunch of episodes recorded." I was like,
Yeah.
"Well," I was like, "How many do you think?" She's like, like 60." I said, "Are you insane?" I said, "First of all,"
No.
I go, "I had 3 and I dropped them all within a week." I said, "Because
Yes.
for me, I know I would get to releasing those other ones and I'd be like, 'I'm not even that same person anymore. Scrap that shit. I'm not recording
Correct.
that.'" I said, "It's
Correct.
insane." I said, "And think about how many people are missing out on hearing your story in the meantime because you're backing
Yes.
these podcasts." Like, I'm all for
Yes.
batching, I'm all for doing that, I'm literally doing that with my guest episodes right now, but like you said, just put it out there, whatever it is that you wanna do, if it's
Yes.
messy, if it's what go back and listen to my first podcast episode, they don't sound that great, but you know what? You learn, you get better, you move on, you move on.
Yes. And you can edit and fix along the way. I mean, even since I relaunched this one in June, and this is the third time I've relaunched my podcast, everybody. And so it's one of those things like it's okay. It's probably not going to be the same version in 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. You might have an entirely different name. You might have different ways that you start your interviews. You might have, a completely different way. Maybe you want to do seasons instead of doing it every week, right? It's that's specifically all about a podcast, but it can be translated to anything else is you get to let it be whatever you want it to be when you want it to be. That's the point.
And you get to decide and you get to choose.
Yes.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you, if we fast forward a year, like
Mhm.
what would just make you smile and be so proud of that you did in your business? Like what's coming? What's next for you? Since we're like right around the corner to 2020.
I love dreaming, Sarah.
I do too.
I do. It's so fun because I like thinking about what it is this past year for me. I'm still pinching myself. Like, was this real? Because I hosted my first event. I had my first retreat here in the United States, like a business specific retreat. And I really intentionally went in with wanting to create opportunities for women to be together in person. And I would say that's still really, if not number one priority, top three of creating ways for women to be in person. Speaking of, I really want to come to your event. So I already told you, I was like, there's no reason I can't be there. So
Of
just get the
course.
ticket, Caitlin, make it happen, put it on your calendar.
Yeah.
Speaking of aligned action, right? So it's one of those things where I really want to be around and in person, not just on the screen, even with my clients. I want to hug you. I want to sit with you at your laptop. I want to get into like the specifics and feel your body language and just get into it. So I would say in person is a huge priority for me. And then I'm really focusing on YouTube. There's not a lot of women in this space on YouTube. If they are, it's just their podcast. So I'm into wanting to create some other content that I feel like will really serve women in this stage of the journey. And it's really stuff I wish I had had, and probably stuff that I'll watch for myself too to be like, remember?
Right?
Also, do the thing you say you do. Like,
Yeah.
come on, girl. Like,
I know sometimes
just
I'm like, because I personally, let me ask you this, because I listen to my own podcast.
hell yeah.
And some people are like, "Oh, I could never." And I'm like, "But that's the only way that I learned. That's how I learned in the beginning that I said like
Yes.
in every other sentence, that's the only way that you
Yes.
get better." And sometimes I'm listening and I'm like, "Damn, I should take my own advice."
Totally. Totally. And other times I think, what? Where did that come from? Oh my God, it's so funny. This episode coming out tomorrow, actually, I go off on this big tangent. And then I finally stop myself in the episode and I'm like, you guys, this was not the point of this episode. I don't even know where I'm going with this. What is this?
What just
But
happened?
yeah, I'm like, sorry, scratch all that. It was all great. It was all important, but this was not what I wanted to talk about today. And it's so funny because it's just hearing yourself think out loud. And I think just be, you know, an example for women to show up messy and not have it edited all perfect and polished and all of the things.
So, for the people that are listening, where can they find you? Where do you spend most of your time?
I live on Instagram. So that is my main thing, as well as YouTube now, of course, but both
Mhm.
handles are the Beam Life. So a lot of people miss THE, the Beam Life. So that's where I am on Instagram and YouTube. Please come say hi and share with us something that you learned from this episode today. I love it. I love hearing from anyone who listens and connecting with other women.
I do too. I do too. So if you guys have, like Caitlin said, if you guys have any takeaways, we would love it if you guys would share it, tag us in your stories, all the things, so that we could just thank you and, keep creating sunshine in our lives and your lives, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So thank you
Yay.
so much for coming on. I so appreciate you.
Thanks, girl.
Hey, beautiful souls. I have something really special to share with you today. You know how sometimes you hear exactly what you need at exactly the right moment? Well, if you've been craving deeper connection, genuine community, and the kind of support that actually helps you grow, this might be that moment for you. I'm launching something called the Sunshine Era, and honestly, it's everything I wish I had found 5 years ago when I was searching for my path. Here's the thing: I created this for the woman I used to be, the one who had dreams stirring inside her but didn't know exactly what more looked like, the one who was ready to show up for herself but needed the right environment to bloom, the one craving connection with women who would see her potential and refuse to let her play small. The Sunshine Era is where transformation becomes a way of life. We meet monthly for focus group coaching. We have a daily Telegram community for real time support, monthly expert sessions with wellness professionals and mindset coaches, and most importantly, a sisterhood of women who believe in your dreams. We'll be doing the deep mindset work, teaching you how to prioritize yourself without guilt, and introducing you to new modalities that might just change everything for you. If you've been waiting for a sign to invest in yourself, to step into community, to finally prioritize your own growth, consider this your gentle nudge from the universe. You can find all the details in the show notes. Your sunshine era is waiting. Are you ready to answer?